Everyone. We're live from Ireland, way up north in Donegal, just outside of Letterkenny. I'm away for another 10 days or so, but I wanted to get live and chat with people. Never a dull moment out there. Holy smokes. Trump trade wars and critical mineral talks. PDAC is doing well. Hearing it's very busy, lots of people, lots of interested parties there, and a pretty overall good rating I'm hearing from it, and uh, some great talking points from some politicians as well, which, I'm always a wait and see kind of fellow with all these things. But we had Natural Resource Minister Jonathan Wilkinson, say he made the claim that Canada is open for business. I would say up until this point that has not been the case. But he did make that commitment that they're open to business. He did recognize that the exploration stage of mining space, there's a need for risk capital, acknowledging that there's not enough capital flowing in there. So these are all good things. It's a recognition that we need to see that messaging from the federal level all the way down on a retail level, and then as well to venture forth into the world. We need to see other countries see that Canada is a place that they want to come, that's worth investing in, because we've got the resources. Everyone knows that. But that the political risk, the permitting risk, can we actually get business done? That risk needs to be removed. And in part, that's kind of what we're seeing in the States as well, leaving all politics aside, which is tough, which is very tough nowadays, with the level of, pretty much just narrative at this point floating around, depending on which side you like or dislike. The talk of tariffs is, tons of misinformation about that. Most of out there, what I hear is, oh, it's stupid, it's that, which is not an argument. Tariffs can work. They have worked in the past. And just to throw a possibility of people who've just been hearing one side about how this is a disaster, it's going to cause inflation, which it likely will. It'll cause a lot of issues and hardships in the short term. But if you're the US, it has the possibilities of creating exceptional wealth and creating the infrastructure and the back to business that the West has been recognizing that they need. Like, we've been talking about critical supply chains shifting and moving for years, and that these alliances were going to have to change. Now, who's on board and who's not? That's been very difficult to to map out, and people are starting to see that once just assumed friendships are not the case. If you pay attention to some of the discussions, you can hear that the U.S. is saying the enemy is within. They don't view a lot of the issues moving forward as being external threats as much as internal threats that are not interested in say Western civilization foundational pillars or premises of meritocracy, hard work, these types of things. A lot of these ideals have been cast aside for the kind of woke ideology that's pervasive in progressive countries. And also, I would argue, the U.S. mandate was a firm rejection of that. And a tariff. And if you look at, say, the U.S., if I want to play devil's advocate, there's $1.8 trillion of investment announced as soon as Trump took office into the U.S. That's not money printing. That isn't. That's investment into U.S. Instead of saying, hey, we're going to print $8 trillion and we're going to subsidize people and shell out the money all over. This is a better approach. Is if Canada could do the same thing, and let me just pick on the Volkswagen deal, for example. Instead of giving $12 billion in grants, subsidies, tax incentives to Volkswagen, so they can go and build a battery plant in Canada to then sell products as a public company to North America, where that benefits us in no way other than virtue signaling. That's terrible. Like, that's the worst model I've ever heard of. It would be far better if we said to Volkswagen, we're so exceptional to work with, you're going to want to spend $12 billion building in Canada and hiring Canadian workers and using Canadian products and whatnot, rather than we're going to give you $12 billion. That's nuts. It's crazy. So there's something to be said for, can you turn the tables and encourage or enforce other countries to want to invest in you? And you're going to see that. You're going to see more of it, whether you like him or not. You're going to see that. And listen, I love the fact that now all of a sudden there's a bit of resurgence of Canadian pride or patriotism. I find it humorous that we spent 8 years with, Justin saying don't have that. That the worst thing in the world is to be nationalistic or patriotic. To then all of a sudden, now that he's still lingering on, it won't just go away. Is try to play that card and to his benefit politically. It's a little bit annoying, but whatever. It's politics. That's politics is ugly and it's annoying. You shouldn't go into it unless you're plenty well aware of it. And we are good to see that on all sides and all spectrums. And it's very wild. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I don't need to go through it. Everyone knows all the crazy stuff that's going on. Once again, give or take your side of what you think that is. I just wanted to play devil's advocate and say, listen, there is a place where tariffs work. And more importantly, is if you come in and you take power and you really say we're open for business, you'll know it because you'll be getting deals like SoftBank coming in for $500 billion, Taiwanese semiconductors saying, hey, Canada, we want to build something in Canada. You'd have Jensen Huang from NVIDIA saying, we want to invest in Canada and put a plant in. If you're not hearing that, then you're not open for business. And people have to ask the question, why aren't we getting those deals? It's a worthy question. We need to ask that. But the good thing with this tariff situation too is it's getting Canadians to try to understand, well, what is our current economic system? Like how are we working? What do we do? And once again, remove the politics of, hey, Trump set up the system. Now he's saying it's not good enough. Yeah, it's no one would ever imagine that he's a easy person to deal with. And I wouldn't defend that he is. But that's the card we've been dealt, and that's who you have to deal with. But everyone now is hopefully looking to see, well, how does Canada operate? Like, what are the tariffs that we get, or how do we function? Why is it that it's more expensive for us to trade interprovincially? Why, like, does this make sense? There's a ton of things that we can question, and regardless of the U.S. And if you say, and I would say a huge mistake, let's keep fighting a war with the U.S. and not be trading partners. Let's go elsewhere. Okay, that is going to have a significant impact on your ESG and climate, political stance very quickly because you're going to be shipping things again at an enormous rate, more so than if you could just ship things by road, by rail, just down south and start using them. But more importantly, we need to be looking at why aren't we interprovincially trading? Like, why aren't we doing the same type of idea that the US is saying is, why shouldn't we be manufacturing? Why shouldn't we be producing more of this stuff? Why don't we want to have more of our own autonomy by being energy focused and saying, listen, maybe we should also develop these critical metals? Shouldn't we be not only exploring for them and digging them up, but also producing them in the sense of refining them and getting them up to either like battery grade if it's lithium and nickel, or phosphate or phosphoric acid, sorry. So all of these questions are illuminating people, hopefully. I know if you're watching state media, that's not the case. They're not encouraging you to think about those things. It's just trying to get you riled up and get you annoyed and get you angry. But hopefully it's getting you to ask, are we actually open for business? Is there any indication that we are? And there are some good things. These discussions about adding tax breaks, talking about flow through shares and whatnot. We've had flow through shares forever, so I don't see that as being a huge thing. The issue isn't that we have a good tax flow structure. It's the fact that we need to have a massive federal PR budget to say this is where Canada can strive and do better. That's where their money, if they want to put their money where their mouth is, we should be seeing like $100 million ad campaign for the next 4 years telling Canadians about how exceptional we are with getting things out of the ground in a correct way, in a socially responsible way, and to be a model for the rest of the world. I've said that a million times. You're sick of me hearing about it, but it is important to see that there is some acknowledgement out there. And also, we talked about before, BC acknowledged, I think it was a month ago or so, that, and in their today's 2025 plan, although it's a massive deficit and an exception getting, a lot larger, they did acknowledge that they need to strengthen BC's economy. And that means reducing dependency on the US markets and critical metals. So we see that there is an acknowledgement, even if it's kind of loosey-goosey right now. We see that there is the acknowledgement, at least, that we have to pay more attention to this. And then you have to ask yourself, do we have the right people in as a team to be able to deliver this? But there is, optimism from the acknowledgement, but of course, as I mentioned, the ever increasing deficits, say in BC, that are pretty high. We're going to need to see something very, very financially and economic, let's say, ingenious to get going. And listen, the far left isn't really known for exceptionally brilliant financial instrument design or management. It's not really their forte. But listen, who knows? Anything might happen. But there is, at least some acknowledgement, and we'll have to wait and see whatever happens with Canadian elections and whatnot, what actually gets done. But I give credit where credit's due. If they're at least saying it, they're acknowledging it, that critical metals are important. That maybe some good comes from this tariff situation where we're forced to look and go, what's our plan now? And deal with the reality of we need to get these metals out of the ground, and we can either trade with someone else, or maybe we can also become vertically integrated as a country and say, no, maybe we can start actually producing these at a higher level, and become a significant energy country. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see a team put forward that could do that. We certainly have, as I always say, the brain power, not only on the tech side, but on all the mining side here in Canada, that we could do something like that and structure it up. It's just a matter of, in part, education and misinformation. That's the biggest issue that we have to deal with. And if the government gets on side, whatever side of that government happens to be, and they put a little bit of effort into explaining why it's so critical that we have some autonomy and some investment and attract investment into Canada, we could be sitting in a fantastic situation. So this pain, short-term pain, hopefully is coming to a peak. We've been talking about this pain for years, whereas we might finally get a solution. I'm always a hopeless optimist. We might get a solution soon that includes reality in this talk about COP 26, 27, 28, 29, whatever, UN, United Nations plans for climate, etc. We might actually get some real solutions from Canada as to what are they planning on doing, rather than just the NIMBY virtue signaling that we've been hearing for 8 years or so. Just to roll it up now as well, Desert Mountain Energy. This is super controversial. We did an interview with them a month ago. This was a darling for us, a huge position for us, and went quiet for 2 years nearly. Well, we saw yesterday major announcement that the dispute between and the lawsuit that was out there with Desert Mountain Energy and Flagstaff, has been resolved. And it all came about because of well leases, and Flagstaff had a complaint regarding water rights, that they didn't have an aquifer protection permit, and anyways, there was a lot of claims being made by Flagstaff that it looks like were completely unfounded. So the 12-page opinion declared, the court declared that Flagstaff's claims against DME were null and void. And it was a summary judgment against the city of Flagstaff. So that's significant. That's saying that there was absolutely no basis for this by Flagstaff. And that also, to me, I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but I've watched a lot of lawyer shows. That sounds like a punitive case too. Whenever you get a summary judgment, that sometimes gets followed in by summary judgment in monetary claims. Didn't see that in the press release, but maybe there is some money that's coming Desert Mountain Energy's way. But this also talks about the hinting that, listen, there was lots going on behind the scenes at a political level, and that they couldn't talk about certain things and whatnot. I know there's a lot of mixed reactions, like, oh, I believe it, I don't believe it. Well, we're at step one. Now, I'm not making any huge claims or prophesizing the future as to what the future holds for DME, but it is a major first step uh, from what they talked about in the video, that there was going to be news, and that this, to me, now, once again, I don't know. The company hasn't told me what their milestones are or what the plan is, but if they have won that, then there's a very good chance that they're going to be back in Arizona then. And we're going to try to find out, because that's what people want to see. They want to see you're back in Arizona, you're back in the Holbrook Basin, and tell me now, give me some production numbers. So if we see those things, well, then things are going to be very, very interesting. And we're waiting now, uh, certainly eyes peeled, to see if we see any official news releases in regards to that, hopefully being the strategy. But it was definitely very interesting. Once again, very dramatic scenario with that, with the stock rising up, almost ready production, then having to leave the state under this cloak of mystery. And believe me, the level of BS in all these forums is astounding. Never on DME. Never mind, we won't even get into the Goliath one. That the level of absurdity I've read in some of these things is incredible. Um, and we saw with Power Metallic and Goliath them pull back a bit here, largely I think in part due to the tariff worries. And once again, is Canada open for business? These are huge opportunities right now. So we're excited about all that's happening, what's developing. The ones, the companies we really like and love. This kind of came out of nowhere, the DME thing, and that is encouraging. And we're, like I said, we're going to be keeping our eyes peeled to see what officially comes out, what news. And I'm going to try to reach out to the company as well and see if maybe we can get them on and chat again and see what they can say, if they can reveal more. So, quick shout out for me here in Ireland. Great to see so many of you on. Send me back your thoughts on how you think PDAC is going, how the market is going in general. And of course, check out our Substack. Lots of opinions flying there as well. And we not only like to be entertaining and informative, but we want to get this message out across, because the more people I talk to, they're saying it isn't that Canadians don't know that everything is made from mining. They kind of are getting that. They're kind of starting to understand that critical metals are important. It's getting through a lot of the misinformation in the media about mining as a whole. And it's going to take a ton of education and a ton of work by a lot of people at far higher roles than I am, in order to get the average person on side. But more, and I want the average person on side because there's asymmetric gains here. Like, you can get involved in companies for pennies on the dollar that you wouldn't in other sectors, and it isn't an app. It's not like, oh, I'm rolling the dice on the venture cap app, or some quote unquote AI software that might do this, might do that. It's a hard time following. Can it do that? I don't know. This is something that's critical, that's foundational for any country. And we're seeing right now, as we've been talking about for years, things play out very rapidly on shifting alliances and partners moving forward as this global world changes. And we got beat up a little bit on gold, for the last 5 or 6 days, and boom, we're back up to 2,900 again. Yeah, that's, once again, some people taking profits, some people restabilizing and setting a new foundation to grow upon. We're looking at precious metals are looking great, and people are also starting to pay more attention to copper. Where are you getting your copper from? Anyways, lots to talk about, lots in the Substack to read, and reach out to us anytime. Send me your thoughts and your feedback and things that you want to cover, and we're really looking forward to the spring coming up ahead. And we'll see you possibly on Friday, if not next week. All the best, everyone.